Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Armoury. Welcome to Full Time Sports Network as well. We are here to do the end of the season awards part one. There will be more parts of this. There will be exactly the same questions, exactly the same questions, just different panelists. Tonight we've got Moss from Canada. We've got Satvik from India. How are we both doing?
Very good. Just going into
Yep.
afternoon now. It's really hot, muggy, humid, whatever you want to call it. Get thunder showers at night. It's pretty good, awesome.
Good. How are you doing,
Yep,
Satvik?
yep. All the same, pretty good. The monsoon's just about to start here, so looking forward to some really drab weather.
Oh dear. No,
It's
stay
too
safe,
rainy.
hopefully.
Is it too rainy over there, Satvik, or what?
I mean, the summer's about to end now, so I think about from next week is when the monsoon will hit, and then it's
Yeah.
gonna be
Oh wow.
everything will be washed out. Yeah,
Wow.
and there's no football to drown the sorrow in as well.
Right, let's quickly get into the comments because we've got loads to get through tonight. Big up to Tony. Hope you're doing well. Evening to Luke and evening to Brenny. Hope you're all doing well. Right. So we've obviously got the 8 questions that I've asked you guys not to tell me the answers before the show because I want to be surprised. However, we are going to do very quick ratings for each player. I just want numbers out of 10. That's all I want because I'm going to do at the end of all the parts. I'm going to compare, and then I'll do proper awards as well at the end of that as well. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And to be honest, Luke, you ever reminded me because obviously we've had a few issues before we went on stream, but yes,
1,000.
We have reached 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to every single one of you. Big up to the Armoury team. We are always busy on here. And big up to everybody that has subscribed. Really appreciate it. And let's look forward to what we call city season, otherwise transfer window, and look forward to next season. So big up to everyone that has subscribed. Really appreciate it. Thank you ever so much. Right. So I'm going to start with Moss, then we'll go to Satvik. I just want a number. Out of 10.
Speaking of silly season, Benzema getting a big send-off here. La Liga.
Before we start, are we allowed decimals, and if so, how many?
Say that again. Sorry, Satvik.
Are we allowed decimals, and if so, how many?
No.
Yeah.
No halves.
Yeah.
It's a 6 or a 7.
6
or an 8
half.
or a 5. No, it's a 5 or a 6. Simple as that. If anybody gives me a decimal point, I will be rounding it down. Rounding it down. I'm going to punish you for giving me decimal
round
points.
Up, Moss. Round up, Moss.
No, I will always round it down.
I mean, I need to think. Round up, Moss.
Right, yes.
Round down.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to start, obviously, with Ramsdale in goal. Let's take that comment off just the screen so you can see everything there. We'll start with you, Satvik, because you're the first one on my list, actually. So what rating would you give him out of 10 this season?
I think a solid 9 out of 10. It's multiple occasions on which I don't think we could have challenged for the season had he not made, a couple of key saves, especially towards the end of the game. So 9 out of 10 for me. Still not giving him the full 10, but yeah.
Yeah. Moss, number, please.
What did Satvik give? A 9?
It doesn't matter what Satvik gives. This is your
I didn't hear what he said. He said 9.
Yeah, Satvik gave 9.
Yeah, I would have been an 8.5 for here, so I will go 9. 9, Bobby. I round up.
You were lucky there. I was going to give him an 8, just because. Big up to Dave. I've noticed you just got me.
Maggie agrees.
Hope you have a bottle of champagne for each player so they can find their bottle next season. Big up to Dave. One. Hope you're doing well. Big up to Steve as well. Hi guys. Hope everyone is well. Hope you all were doing well as well, Steve. Thank you ever so much. Right, we're going to move on to Turner. So Moss, this will be your score first.
He played no Premier League games. Unbelievable. But he gave Europa, he gave the Cups a go. He didn't really make any mistakes much, really, at all. So I'll give him a 7 because it's hard to say much without getting the games, yeah.
Yeah, I think I gotta go with the 6 because I still think he could have, tried to do a bit better. I mean, I think I saw one error from him all season. I think that was that one error which we saw. So, but I think six is harsh, but I think I'll stick with a six.
No, 6 is fine in our ratings. The way that we do our ratings, 6 is absolutely fine. It's when you get to 5 and 4s, that's where it's a bit harsh for us. But yeah, 6 is fine. So we're going to go to Tomiyasu. Satvik, Tomiyasu for you.
So this is a tricky one because
Yeah.
we started out in a position where he was really key to how we play, and then as Ben White improved and fit into a role better, Tomiyasu's involvement slowly started to decline, and of course the injuries didn't help. But I think a seven is where I'm at.
Yep, that's fine. Moss.
Yeah, very hard to give him a rating with getting injured, but just from when he was playing, he had kind of a rough start, but every now and then he had a blinding performance. There was when he had to play left back that one time. That was impressive, showing his versatility, but hard to give with barely any games, at all. So I'll give him a 6.
So you say barely any games. He has played 30 games this season for us.
Yeah.
No, but
So-
like none in the second half. Like, and
Yeah, but 30 games is still actually quite a lot.
with
When okay, when you
89
look,
minute subs.
what I will say is when you get to Fabio Vieira, and people have been slating how bad he's been this season, he's played less games than Tomiyasu.
Yeah.
So that's
But
what
Tommy
I was saying.
he was always coming in, as you know, because he'd always criticize his subs. Like, why bring him
Yeah.
in? It was like 88-minute subs a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll move on to Ben White. Moss.
He was kind of I had on our show. He was my surprise of the year because I thought Tomiyasu was going to be our right back, from the start, and I was like, can Ben White really do that? And he really surprised how really he took that position and ran with it and linked up with Saka really well. While still we were like a 3 center backs, when he was back and Zinchenko roaming around. So I was really impressed with White this year, and I didn't expect it. So I'll give him a 9.
Okay, Satvik.
Yep, totally agree. I think he earned his position and he showed why he's the starting right back, fit into the system perfectly. I think more than last season he did what Arteta wants his right back to do, and I think that really boosted his profile in the team. And I think that's what even the screen shows us. He played 46 games. He played most of the games in
Yeah.
the position. So I think 9 out of 10. He had an odd mistake in him, but I think that's kind of excusable. So 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, okay. Tamina, at Arsenal transfer news, I'll have some updates Tuesday. So tune in for Tuesday. There will be Arsenal news back on Tuesday. I'll have 2 shows this week, all to do with Arsenal news. So yeah, tune back on Tuesday. I promise I'll give you some updates. Yeah, but right now we're just doing a
You would think later next week we're gonna know a couple little things for sure, or one big thing.
yeah, exactly. So Tierney, for you, Satvik.
Again, this is a bit tough because of especially how many appearances he has when he's been subbed on.
Yeah.
Couldn't really make much of an impact, and I mean, there's news coming out that he's leaving. Whereas, just as recently as last season, we were thinking about making him captain. So it's a really tricky one. This, but I mean, I've always had a soft spot for him. I would say 7. Yeah.
Fair enough. Moss.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I really love the guy. He was borderline going to become our captain, and really a change of formation, which I think a lot of that change of formation was to suit Xhaka being in the lineup, and making it a position for him. And I think it forced Tierney out, and we wanted Zinchenko in, and it really helped our midfield big time. And then he would come in and he would try to do it, and he'd look timid. And you just got to play your game no matter what when you get in there. And I think he had trouble doing that. So I really like the guy. I like the guy's game. I kind of hope we keep him when it doesn't look likely, perhaps, because some other clubs are going to want him, and he's going to want to play. So I'll give him a 6 only.
Okay, no worries.
But I do
Let's move on. Let's move on to Sinchenko. We'll start with you, Moss.
Yeah, I think a real motivational, inspirational leader right away for us coming from City and really helped us get an energetic start to our season. Really played into that, play back three and him and Party dominate the defensive mid area and really get our passing going. It helped Xhaka get a little more further forward. Odegaard and him really linking up nice. I think he had a great season, but it tailed off, so I'll give him an 8.
Okay, Satvik.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. If you had asked me halfway into the season, I'd have probably even maybe borderline gone 10. But
Yeah.
after the
Okay.
second half of the season, I definitely would drop it down to an 8 because he hasn't been that consistent. And we know with that pivot role that Arteta has given him from the left back to the CDM, and that really worked out in the first half, but then we couldn't really keep up that passing mojo in
Seems
the
to
key
always,
games.
get
That
calf injuries, eh? It's weird.
yeah, but that's it too. So I think 8 for
We get a
Zinchenko.
lot of those.
Okay, 8 for Sinchenko. All right, Saliba,
Good
Satvik.
call.
I'm really tempted to go 10 here because he could do no wrong uh, when he was playing for us, but then obviously that injury came through. So yeah, I'll go 9. It's a really solid season. We couldn't see enough of him
Yeah.
last season, but we did this season, and what we saw was we really had most of the other clubs comparing him with the best centre backs in the Premier League, and I think quite a few even have him in their player teams of the season. So I think definitely 9.
Okay, Moss.
Yeah, I'm a lot like Satvik there, and you couldn't have asked for a more perfect first half of a season. I mean, he made us. And I've been saying it. I think too. At least a years worth, Bobby. That he was fantastic in League One. I couldn't believe people think what he was doing there wasn't going to translate to us. And then we saw it in the preseason. Bobby pays good attention to the preseason games always, and you could just see that and I was surprised White was always going right back, as we said earlier. But you could just see that back four was for becoming a solid unit and a good formation, and it was because of him. And him and Gabriel actually communicate really well together. It was fantastic, and he's such an athlete that we could play that high line. And then when we had to devolve from our usual play, it really hurt us. So yeah, I agree, Sabek. He's borderline a 10. And just there was a couple games, so I don't know, after the World Cup, of sitting on the bench, stupid Deschamps. I think he was better than the French players at the World Cup, a lot of them, and he just sat the bench. He came back and he looked a little laissez-faire, wouldn't you say, Bobby? And I don't know if he already had maybe a little back issue or a hamstring issue coming, and then that one game in the Europa, it kind of something snapped there or something happened. And so yeah, I give him a 9 as well as Satvik, because it's not his fault maybe with injury, but it did dip in play for a couple matches there even before he got hurt. And Gabriel, I think, really stepped it up in that time. So yeah, a 9 for sure.
Gabriel, we'll start with you, Moss.
Yeah, good continuation, good segue, because I just said they created such a fantastic duo back there, and Gabriel kind of brings the physical, the intimidating, the getting the guy's face a little bit. But I think his passing's gotten a little bit, a lot better. His touch has naturally gotten a little better. He's Brazilian, and he's not doing the rashness of the first couple of years we had him, and I give him a solid 8. This could have been an 8.5 too, Bobby. But yeah, him and Saliba speaking French and being comfortable, being great buddies, and driving each other and lifting each other's performance, almost like a bit of a competition almost, and they really feed off each other. So yeah, I'm really happy that we got these two guys.
Okay, Satvik, Gabriel.
I was thinking between a 7 and an 8, but I think I'll give him the benefit of doubt and push it up to an 8. I think he's been really consistent, and obviously the second half of the season, once Saliba was out, a bit of uh, got a little bit exposed in terms of, let's say, pace or maybe getting back quick enough. But I think he was still pretty good. And I mean, he's been the most consistent. He's played nearly every game, and all our passing stats he's on top. So got to give him an 8.
Fair enough. We'll move on to Kivior. We'll start with you, Satvik.
Yep, this is, I think, really similar to a couple of the other players in that we haven't seen a lot of him. It's kind of like Saliba in his first season, maybe. But yeah, I think I'll give him an 8, Kivior, because really liked what I saw of him in the last couple of games. Question is, could we have brought him on in place of holding a bit earlier, and that would have really tested out what he's made of. But I
Yeah,
think he really stepped up when he was called upon, and I think that deserves an 8.
brilliant stuff. Moss.
Yeah, Satvik said it very good. I think some people in our fan base were really surprised that he was that good because I think me and Bobby, Luke, a lot of us were calling for him right away. King, Satvik, you probably too in our chats. We were calling for him right away, and it's weird that you get the garbage thrown back at you, from our fan base that, oh, he's left-footed, he can't do it, we can't do this is crazy, but you don't want holding either. So like, what is it like? And it's silly to think we always played two right-footed center backs in the past that you can't play two left-footed ones at the same.
Yeah.
It was getting silly, but I think a lot of people are ready to jump on him as a bad signing in the fan base and say, yeah, what are you doing, Arteta? What are you doing, Edu? But no, it's hard to give him a 9 or 10 or even an 8. I'll give him a 7 because limited, opportunity. And I really think, like Satvik said, he could have came in, a few games earlier.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll move on to Holding. Obviously, he's got way more hair now than he did at the beginning of the season. Moss.
Yeah, he's me and Holden growing the hair out late. Yeah, and used to have to wear a headband myself when I grew the hair out. So big ups to him. Holding number 16. I still kind of hope he stays because he's like El Neni, where he's very happy. He's very happy at their club and to be part of it. He's probably great in training and great to have around. But I think it was unlucky. Like Luke, my partner at Across the Pond Sports Talk said, it's not like we hate him or think he's useless. And Tony's always sticking up for him from the Armoury TV. And I just think we were asking a little too much of him to play the same exact way we were playing with Saliba and high line and ask this guy to play out of his comfort zone a little bit. I think we could have changed up the formation and brought Kivior in with him, and it might have worked better early on. And but yeah, I mean, when he played, he wasn't making any. I mean, the year before he made some mistakes when he came in, and he wasn't really making mistakes. So it's hard to give him a bad grading. So I'll give him a 7.
Okay, Satvik.
Yep, I think I'll give him a 6. But yeah, I mean, it's more of withholding. It's not about the mistakes he made, but what others couldn't do because he was on the pitch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Good
yeah,
at
so I
coming
think
in
that,
at end of games and helping, wasn't he? Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's more of how the team was when he was on the pitch around him was what made more of an impact. But yeah, I do think if there was a comeback of the season award, it would be to go to his hairline. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we'll move on to Thomas Partey. We'll start with you, Satvik.
Thomas Partey is a mixed one because I would say I would have given it an 8 out of 10, but I'm gonna give it a 7, and
Yeah.
that's because we've grown to expect a certain level of quality from Partey, given the previous seasons that he's had with us. So I think going into the season, we wanted a certain level, and up to a certain point, we were getting that from him, and then at a certain point, it just started going below that level, and that started showing up in the scores. So I think a 7 would be reasonable.
Yeah, Moss, what about you?
Yeah. A lot what Sadwick was saying is we met, from the year before when he was out, you could, just like Saliba, you could really see the difference, and it really affected the whole squad when he was out, and it hampered us so bad. And I thought we were maybe over that, and even getting Jorginho, which I wasn't happy in January, but he played really well, and I thought, well, maybe that'll help Party, some calming veteran influence as well, and mix it up. Sometimes Zaka, sometimes Jorginho, give Party a rest here and there, and he'll be strong down the stretch. It seems like once again he got that little niggling injury, away with Ghana, and everything started dropping. He didn't seem like he was running quite as hard and everything, and a little bit of doubt crept into his game, but yeah, it was almost a tale of two seasons. He was great in the first half of the season, like so many of our guys when we were rolling, and then I don't know if Saliba being out and him worrying about defensively even more got to him and got into his head a bit. But yeah, he kind of went from an 8 to a 7 for me, just because I do expect so much from him, and he is so important. And yeah, the drop off was drastic, from that Liverpool game onwards,
And don't get me wrong, if he leaves the team, I think we'll be in total shambles. He's the guy who tackles the most. He's the one making it happen in the midfield.
Yeah.
So
Cuts off the
nothing to take
counter
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No taking away from what he's done for us this season, but I mean, we've grown to expect that from Partey, so 7.
Okay, fair enough. Right, so we're going to go with El Neni. I know he's not played much, but he's played over the 5 games, which is my rule.
Your threshold?
Playing 5 games, yeah. So we're going to start with you first, Moss, with El Neni.
Yeah, just a great club guy to have around. You could see when he played in African Cup the year before how great he was for Egypt, how important he was for them. I think he's great for our club to have. But yeah, very limited play with picking up an injury. Came back strong. I mean, yeah, if cheerleader award or what do you want to give him? But yeah, it's hard. I mean, maybe only a 5, even though I really like the guy and like what he brings to our club. It's tough to grade him. Yeah.
Yeah, Satfik.
Yeah, I'll go with the 5 as well. And as Moss said, great guy to have around. All of the training videos that we see, he's just a barrel of laughs. And yeah. I mean, just didn't play much. And one of those seasons, I think, when we had Stefan Lichtsteiner, he just was around, but we just didn't see him much, so can't really comment.
No, it's absolutely fine.
5 for me.
Right, we're going to move on to Jorginho. Satfik.
I think 6 would be fair for Jorginho.
Okay.
I mean, it was always tough because he came in a bit late, and I mean, when he did come in, we saw all those reports about Jorginho's jumped ship. Is he just going for the title? What's his agenda here, and all of that? And I think while the decision was kind of justified because we did need a bit of backup in that area, and to cool down the pressure that Partey was feeling in being the only focal point in our midfield. But yeah, I think there were a couple of games where we did miss some of the creativity that we thought he could bring in, which he didn't. So I think a 6 would be where I'm at. Yeah.
No, it's absolutely fine. Moss, Jorginho.
Well, these penalties are going on. Partick Thistle and Ross County. But yeah, Jorginho, like I said, I think a bit earlier, I have Chelsea PTSD for former Chelsea players. I did not want this. So I don't know. I think that affects my rating because I really was surprised how, and I mean, he's a veteran and he's been there and done it multiple ways, his country, his club, everything he's done. I think Arteta knew what he was doing here and bringing him in, being a common influence. You see him out there. I think Odegaard likes it as well because he is such a field general as well and communicating and getting everyone positioned. I think it was a great signing in the end, so I'm going to give him an 8. And I think, like Aussie Gunner, you guys should check out too. We don't always agree, but we always give reasons why, and we appreciate all the opinions and hearing different opinions, and check out his channel. But even he was saying too, and I think he likes him a little bit more than me, but how many times he almost should have been on starting, whether maybe Xhaka was off a couple of times and Jorginho could have been in there for his passing and his leadership. And when he was in there, he did good. So I'm going to give him an 8.
Okay, absolutely fine. We're going to move on to Xhaka. So, Moss, your rating for Xhaka?
Yeah, it was his best season with us by far ever. I think he gave it his all. He kept out of the red card, Satvik, like that have scared us in previous seasons, and you never knowing
Yeah.
what he's gonna do. And I think it came to fruition that one time. Who were we playing there uh, when Arteta went running after him and grabbing him, not to get involved at the end of the game, and it's just funny stuff with him because you just know he's going to get involved. You know he's going to get his 2 cents in there, and he's not going to back down. And yeah, I got to give him a 9 because he was absolutely consistent. There was games in the second half, but like so many of our players, where he wasn't quite hungry and into it as much as you'd like, and maybe he was a little tired and should have, like I said, Jorginho and TP could have started, or what, try Zinchenko in there. I was calling all year, in his spot, his natural position as well. But man, he did great with it, and to give that kind of production and that kind of leadership, and not cause trouble. And even though he kind of was obviously getting in his mind that he is going to be leaving us this summer, I just think, yeah, I would have never given him a 9 before, but I will this season.
Okay, Satvik.
Yep. I think quite close. If there were decimals, I think a 9.5 would have been where I would have put it. But let's go with the 9 for now. And I think plain and simple, best season in an Arsenal shirt.
Yeah.
I think he's the one with the most number of appearances of the current crop of players. I think he's got around 229, if I'm not wrong, which is crazy. I mean, he's got more than so many of the legends that we know. So I think that's really creditable, and not happy to see him leave. Not now. I mean,
Nobody.
after this great season that he's had, 9 goals and 7 assists, man. I mean, like if you see those numbers from the position that he's playing, if it was a young player of 25 years age, I would have just said sign that player right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's the performance he's put in, and I think it's kind of sad to see him go right now. But yeah, 9 out of 10, great season, great player, great farewell goal, everything.
Okay, let's move on to
Well,
Fabio Vieira. We'll start with you, Satvik.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of tough for him because this is his first like full season, and 21 appearances off the bench. So I mean, and from Arteta's substitution, that's like 10 or 12 minutes per game. So
Yeah.
this isn't really counting for much. But I mean, at the starting, he was a breath of fresh air. We needed that breath of fresh air in some of the games, and he did provided it. But I think I'll still go with the 6
Okay.
because all said and done, we got him from an established club and paid a good fee of money for him. And I think I wanted to see a bit more, and
Yeah.
I didn't. So 6.
Fair enough, Moss.
Yeah.
Fabio Vieira, rating, please.
Ross County is staying up. Partick Thistle didn't do it. Sorry, these penalties just kept going. Nobody wanted to win. Oh, man. Sorry, I got it in my ear. But yeah, we're on Fabio Vieira. Me and Bobby, we wanted this guy and was surprised the most to the fan base, I think. Surprised to almost everyone when we got him. Maybe we had to pay a little much because he's a future superstar.
Yeah.
And from what I saw in Portugal, watching just a bit of him, but a lot where Bobby told me to watch him in the Euro. I think it was under 20s a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Watch that, and it's just like this guy's got technical skill coming out his ears, and yeah, maybe his frame, he needs to get a little stronger, perhaps. I mean, they said that about Odegaard too, and I mean, Messi's little. A lot of great players are little. And I just think his technical skills fabulous. He's had a disappointing first year, but he needed to watch. He needed to watch the Premier League, learn from some veterans. I'm glad we had Jorginho's and the Xhakas with him for his first year, that kind of stuff. So he's learned a lot. Trust me, this year he'll figure it out. He'll be good next year. Whether we loan him or not is another question. But I think he'll stick around, and we're going to see the best of him yet. But yeah, I mean, he didn't do it for me in the Europa Cups where he was really given a chance, right, Bobby? Most of the time he got starts in Europa. And so I'm only going to give him a 6, but I think there's a lot of good stuff to come from him.
Yeah, 100%. We'll move on to ESR. Moss.
Yeah, I guess he barely got through that threshold as well, but yeah, I mean, tough. I think he's changing his game. He's changing his body. He's growing into it after showing some great technical and starting to show goals last year. And from one, I mean, how many guys have we subbed on and they do nothing? Like Eddie isn't good as a substitute. It always seems like so many guys. Where this guy seemed to do that the year before nonstop. We'd sub him in and he'd score every time, or make a great play to create a goal. And so I'm glad. I think it sounds like he's staying, Bobby, and
Yes,
it's
he is.
looking good that he's staying, because that would be a crime against talent to give up right now and not let him get a chance to grow into a new position. Maybe we'll see him on England under 20 Euros here, play midfield more, and maybe it'll give Arteta some okay, yeah, I am going the right way with this guy now. And get just better shape, better, stronger, and not be going with these little niggly injuries anymore. So yeah, he's only a 6, but I'm still very glad he's staying with our club, and I think he'll bring it next year.
Yeah, 100%. Satvik, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, really tricky one, this Emil Smith Rowe. I think last season when all the chants started coming up, it was always Saka and Smith Rowe in the same sentence, right? And then both of them were coming up similarly on a parallel path, and then obviously he picked up that injury, and then it just came to a stage where when he came back, the people around him were better at what we wanted to do, and he just wasn't able to find that, let's say, spark where we could directly put him in the team. People around him were just better. So, not really his fault. I won't blame him for his rating. More of the injury that he just caused. That, I mean, that's the way things played out. But I think, as Moss said, really happy to see him continue ahead. And I think there's just a big part of me that wants him to do well, and I just hope he can.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for this season, just off the bench, I would give him a 6.
Okay. Okay. Satvik. I already know Moss's answer to this one. Odegaard. Satvik, what score are we getting for Odegaard? I'm already writing yours down, Moss.
I know, but I don't like giving 10s. I don't like to give 10s.
But Satvik, what's your score?
I'll give him a 9.
Okay.
I mean, not a 10. I'm tempted to give him a 10, but I don't do 10s. So 9 for me. And I mean, a top goal scorer. Who would have thought we'd be saying that at the start of the season? He's a joint top scorer and 8 assists as well. And goals plus assists is like somewhere on top of all time. And he's just killed it in his
Good call, Luke.
second full season with us. So, and yeah, comparisons with De Bruyne, comparisons with the best of all time, and I think there's only one way to go, and I think making him captain and giving him that additional responsibility is something he really he likes, and he's working towards it, and I think he's the guy. I mean, think of Arsenal. You used to think of Henry. You think of Arsenal. I think of Odegaard these days.
Yeah, 100%. Moss.
Yeah, like I said, I'm like Savic. I don't give 10s out, but he would have been a solid 9.5. So I'm giving him 10 because Bobby's. I don't like the downgrade scale. But yeah, I did 9 or 10. A 10. A lot of people say he goes missing in big games, but I think he proved that myth wrong too. And especially when we lost Saliba, where he had goals that lifted us or got us back into a draw or took the lead like Saka was doing the whole first half of the season. And yeah, I mean, non-penalty goals, 15 and 8. And, I think a few of those could have been more assists there, 10, and he's the king of getting hockey assists and driving the play and getting that, amazing through ball when someone else just taps it or deflects it and gets a goal then. But yeah, at 10, because I don't know, because he's my son and he's amazing, and that's who I got when I went to the Armoury. That's the jerseys I got. And yeah, 9 or 10, but yeah, the tying the record for midfielder goals, I think, with KDB, had that amazing season, and he didn't have any penalties either. And I think Fabregas beat that maybe one year, Bobby, if I'm correct. He had 16, but he had a bunch of penalty goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an amazing season, and that's what Luke and a lot of other people that are maybe not on Arteta's side and making this guy your little teacher's pet and your captain and getting him out there and putting the stake in the ground that this is our guy, this is our field general, and he had to take some punishment, and a lot of them called out for him from last year that he has to finish, he has to make assists, and I would have thought it the other way around, like maybe lucky to get 10 goals this year, maybe 8 or 9, and get 13, 14, 15 assists. I thought it would have been more like that with him, but no, yeah, adding some one-time finishing, and maybe he works on that right foot a little bit more this summer, and has some finishing with that other leg of his, and even better going forward.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to Saka. Moss.
Just before we do that, Moss,
yeah.
What is a hockey assist?
Oh yeah. Me and Luke always use this because we think it's too harsh, FPL and England, the way they don't give assists. Like if a guy touches or it hits a defender slightly, or you make a great shot and the goalie saves it and someone taps in, there's no assist for any of that. In hockey, they always give assists for that. But what we mean it for in football terms is like Odegaard so many times, like I said, it's that great through ball, and then Saka cuts it back, and someone, Jesus or someone scores it. It's like he gets no credit, yet he made the amazing through ball to unleash that on the defense and make the play happen. But he gets no credit for that in England and FPL.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting stat to see how many pass to assists would he have got.
And they got to be quality, I think, to be able to give something in football. And maybe they call it just, make creative play or give it some sort of stat, that you're the through ball, you made the decisive, pass that made that play happen. Yeah.
All right. So Saka for you, Moss, the rating.
Saka, yeah, another great season. A bit of first half of the season as well when we were rocking and rolling. I don't know how many it was. Luke brings it up too, that how many times he ties up the game or takes the lead, gets the winner, and it was happening all the time for Saka in the first half. 15 goals, 11 assists. I thought I'd see 14, and some of these, I don't know where they just counting Premier League or they just are counting all the. Bobby's counting all the matches, right, Bobby?
Yeah, I count all the matches.
So he's got a couple. Okay, and he's got a couple more stats there as well. And I just think he's so clutch. And it's too bad Kardashian curse came into play, because that seems to be when his play dropped off there for a little while. But then at the end, in that Newcastle game, he was fabulous. He was great in the last game of the season, getting another goal. He's kind of an in-betweener, but I'll give him a 9, Bobby.
Okay, Satvik.
Bit controversial, maybe. I'm going for a 10. For Bukayo Saka. Yeah,
I love Luke's.
Best young player of the season, and I mean, it was just an unreal season for him. He just, especially after that penalty miss in the Euros, everyone was wondering about, what's going to happen. Is it going to be another of those cases where it was a great season, but something went wrong, and then he just wasn't the same anymore? I mean, it takes a lot of courage for the whole country was watching him, that penalty miss, and then. He's
played great for England.
He's younger than me, and he's just recovered from that, and he's just kept his head up and had himself one of the best seasons of his career. So I think that's got to count for a lot, and I think that's 10 on 10. He's been there, he scored the goals, given the assists, and he's been there when it's mattered. So I think just all facets of his game have been really, really spectacular. So 10 on 10 for me, and hopefully. If there's 11, he can get that next season.
And Bobby, I'm never one to say a 21-year-old is getting worn out. Like it just shouldn't be even possible. But this guy has played way too many matches, and Southgate's got to give him a breather here. Like someone's got to tell him, like, geez, he needs a full month of just rest and getting ready for the next season. And he just isn't going to get it, is he?
No, no, he won't. Reece Nelson, Satvik.
So this is a tricky one. I mean, I would go with let's say an 8 because he made quite an impact when he did come on, and
Yeah.
obviously we can't forget that goal, and I don't think my neighbors also will forget that goal because of how loudly I was
Everyone is saying
shouting
that.
his yeah, I was shouting his name out after that game. But yeah, I think purely that moment and that result probably boosted from a 7 to 8 for me. But I think he really made an impact, and I think that loan spell at Feyenoord really helped him out
Yeah.
last season. And yeah, I think overall good performance. Not really sure, and really interested to see how they navigate his future around because he's at that crucial level where he's not really a starter, and even off the bench he's a questionable option. Do you get him in, or do you get someone in over the summer and then groom that player into that role? So he's just kind of at that threshold where we're still thinking about what really to do with him. So I think yeah, 8 there, but good season for him overall.
Fair enough. Moss, Reece.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great. I think Bobby, we thought he was maybe getting to be on the outs, and he finally got to go play a whole year with Feyenoord, and I think that really helped his mentality. That hey, I can do it anywhere, but I love Arsenal, you know. So I kind of love this guy, and I'm glad that it seems like a contract's gonna get finalized now. He turned down a couple, right, Bobby?
Yep.
And it seems like something's going to happen now. And he's a great guy to have. And I mentioned that earlier, Bobby, that not many guys, like I didn't think Eddie was good coming off the bench. Not many guys are good coming off the bench, and ESR does that. Like, well, the year before we saw how many impactful subs, and I think this guy is like that too. Like he comes on and his touch is amazing right off the bat, and he's taking guys on right off the bat, like going at them. So I'll give him. Yeah, it's hard, a solid 7, but it's almost like an 8 because he maybe had the moment of the season like Satvik, and I think he got a Premier League award now for like
he got the game changer of the
game
season.
changer. We call it turning point or something over here in North America. We call it turning point, but yeah, game changer of the year. And I mean, if if we won the league, that goal would have gone down in history as like, almost like a Michael Thomas and, something like that. Like it would have been unbelievable goal to have in his armor for all-time legend in our club, if we won the league, but it didn't happen. And still, I just think he was very impactful and a good guy to have in the club because he is good coming off the bench.
100%. Right,
Yeah,
move on.
and I think
sorry.
worth mentioning that like he grew up like I think down the street from Jadon Sancho or something, and then even though Sancho's career trajectory is like he was absolutely killed it at Dortmund, and now let's not say what he's doing at United, but yeah, I mean comparing him to Sancho, this is like just a great season. I mean Jadon Sancho didn't really do that much this season, but Reece Nelson's really turned his story around at Arsenal. So
yeah, it's a happy story.
Yeah, Moss Martinelli, please.
Bobby's Martinelli. I really think, I mean, and people said that last year that he could have been most improved player award type thing. And I think he took another big, huge level jump this year again. Like he's really learned to understand his game, his role in our team, how he's main counterattacker speed and puts the fear of hell into fullbacks now. I think he's really learned how to take advantage of that in the Premier League. And yeah, I give him a 9 because the goals were unreal this year, and maybe a bit more playmaking, but I think that would have came if Jesus wouldn't have been out for 3-4 months. They had a really nice partnership, and you probably would have seen more assists and maybe even more goals too.
Yeah, Satvik Martinelli.
I don't think I'll go as far as a 9. I think I'll give him an 8. Don't get me wrong, spectacular season, much better than last season. He was the brightest player that we had at many points in the season. But I mean, there were those points in the season where we were thinking, maybe would Trossard have done better in that role today. So I mean, just for that one thing, I would bring it down to an 8. But yeah, really excited for the future for him.
100%. We'll move on to Trossard. Satvik.
Yeah, I would stick with an 8 for Trossard. Even given he came in from Brighton and it's just in the Premier League, so they say no acclimatization required. It was still quite a change of play because at Brighton he was more of the focal point. They
Yeah.
played around him, whereas
Yeah.
here we had so many other points in the attack, and here I think he adapted really well, and his passing was good. His finishing I still thought could be a bit better, but 10 assists, come on, in 22 games, so that's really something. So 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay, awesome. Moss, Trossard.
Yeah, maybe January signing of the whole Premier League. Not just our team, but he could have been the January signing of the whole league. And I think he adapted, fits into our club really nicely. He had to play the false nine even a couple matches. I just love how versatile he is. That he could play. He could have played Xhaka's spot. He could play Odegaard's spot. He could play either wing. He can play false nine. He's really a brilliant player to have at the club, and I think he likes maybe not being more of the focal point, and I think he's going to love being in the Champions League and really show up in there, this Belgian. And yeah, I give him an 8, but like a couple of those goals that were crossbars go in. I mean, a couple of games where there were draws and we could have won and he got the winner. I mean, it could have been a 9 or a 10 with this January signing easily. I mean,
Yeah.
a 3 assist game too. Like that was one of the performances of the whole season. That game, he had 3 assists. It was unbelievable match he had there.
Yeah, 100%. Let's move on to Eddie. Moss.
Yeah, I mean, I like Eddie. I like how hard he's worked in the off season last year and get himself ready and change his body, get stronger. But like I've always said, Bobby, I've watched enough of him that, especially when we gave him chances in cups and even playing with a lot of our starters and not just this year, the years previous, and playing with a lot of the starters, and then you see him and he takes 2, 3, 4 touches at times. And I'm like, that's just not a final third player. I mean, he's really good at being a fox in the box, I would say, Bobby. Like he is good at finding the right spots and getting those little headers and being on the end of things and being in the right spot in the box. But for our kind of game and the way we play, it's too many touches to get going for counterattacks and controlling and dishing. Where Jesus, that doesn't happen. Like it's touch and go, touch and go.
Yeah.
And so he's a 7 for me because he has improved. He is bringing his game to another level, but I just don't think he fits with us at this point.
Fair enough. Satvik, Eddie.
Yeah, I think Eddie is a player where most of our fan base, has their time with him where they're like he's the next, and then they're like he's not. But I'm going with
I
the
agree,
six,
Steve.
6 out of 10
Sure.
for him.
Yeah.
And I do see Steve's point there that he never let us down when Jesus got injured. But I mean,
Did a couple good matches there.
yeah, but the way I see it, I think with the creativity that we had and the level at which all the players around him also were playing at the start of the season, I don't think that if we had like another striker instead of Eddie, we would have suffered that much. So I mean, I might be a bit harsh, but I think 6 is where I'm at with Eddie.
No, honestly. No one's wrong on this.
And like Holding, like everyone says, he really did his job at first when Jesus was out there and everyone was like, oh God, what's going to happen? He was there for a while, and then I think he picked up a little injury and his game kind of went south. Wouldn't you agree, Bobby?
Yeah, pretty much. Right, let's move on to the last player. Jesus Satvik.
Yeah, this is where I guess everyone's gonna come at me in the comments.
No one's wrong, mate. No one's wrong. It's your, no one's wrong.
I'm going for a 5.
Whoa.
Okay.
Never mind. I will come at you.
Yeah. and I think this is where as I said, people will differ, opinions will differ, and as they should. But I think we got him in with the same mentality as Zinchenko. He's been there, he's won the Premier League, and I think he just didn't have that impact which we expected. And it might be too much to expect that from the first season, but I think that was what was expected from him. And end of the league, you just look back at the whole 38 games and just see where, if Jesus had done what Jesus was expected to do, uh, would we have won the league? Which I think would be yes. So I think out of all the players that we've had this season perform for us, if there was one which I could pinpoint and say that if he would have done his job, we would have won the league, it would probably have been Jesus. So 5 for me.
Fair enough. Moss?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the opposite, but I can see Satvik's point. We would have expected close to or 20 goals type of thing, and down the stretch, I think, yeah, he missed the odd header. He missed, couldn't shoot with his left foot at times, things like that. And we paid you and we brought you to be on the end of things and be that guy in the box and finish. But for me, it changes because I think he brought the mentality of our whole club just with the signing and being so positive and getting everyone full of energy last preseason. And for the start of the season, he came out banging. And I think it just lifted up our mentality and our whole offense and just everyone thinking, okay, we can do this. We're a top club now. We're going to fight for this title challenge. And I think he brought that to our club. And so for me, he gets an 8. And it's just too bad. I think he had a knee problem even going into that World Cup, and then that just exposed it, and something popped or something happened, and he had to have surgery then. But I think he was kind of hiding that even with us because he was playing good and we were doing so well. And the way he fought back and worked so hard to get back, I mean, you got to give it up to this guy. He's a baller. He loves football, and I love his aggression. Like, he's not the biggest guy, but he holds off big guys like nothing in the Premier League. And
Yeah,
I just think he's a talent that lifted our club, and it's hard to give him a bad mark but yeah, I also agree with Sadvik. When you look back, you're like, where's the 15, 16, 17 goals we needed,
yeah, 100%.
Yep,
Right,
yep,
we've got what?
yeah,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, it's right.
Yeah, I was just saying that more than actually his finishing, even his like just losing the ball in the middle of the park. Surprising that he's played not as many games as most of the other players, but he does have the stat that you don't want, which is the most number of times the player has got dispossessed. So, I mean, that's
Yeah.
saying something. Which playing that less
He's
games
our
and getting
outlet guy.
dispossessed so often. Yeah.
Yeah. Luke, I know you've answered a good, brilliant question. We'll leave that till the end of the whole ceremony because we've still got a few more to do. The last person to rate, I don't have a picture of him, is Arteta. I'm going to start with you, Moss. Very quick rating, 1 to 10
Feta,
on
the whole
Arteta.
game, the whole season.
The whole season.
Yeah, I mean, he got us prepared so well. He got us flying. You got to give him a lot of credit for that for the whole first start of the season. But it gets annoying when he's not adaptable, isn't willing to change a formation when it maybe needs it, or and sticks to his guns and the substitution. So I give him an 8 for the whole season.
Fair enough. Satvik.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. If the subs had been good, 10, but now 9.
Fair enough. Absolutely fine. So yeah, we're going to get into the awards, and I have asked these guys before the show, and I will ask anyone else who does the shows in the following week. Don't give me the answers. I want to be surprised. So the first one is, well, Moss will come back in a minute. So luckily, Satvik's still here. So it is the game of the season. Satvik, what was your game of the season for Arsenal?
Oh, it's probably for Arsenal. I was more of thinking this is like for the whole Premier League in general. So I was
No. Nah, this is for us. This is for us, mate.
I was I was all ready to say
We'll do one like that though. Yeah.
7-0 of Liverpool and United, but yeah.
My
But yeah,
partner said that.
Arsenal's game of the season.
My partner said that game actually. My partner said, because I was going through this earlier today, and M said that was a 7-0 Liverpool game. Don't shoot me, but that's my partner. But Satvik, what's your game of the season for Arsenal?
Yeah, I'll just be a bit boring and I'll say the last game of the season, final Liverpool will win at Wolves. After
No,
all
it's
that
fine.
talk of we've bottled it and it's over and they aren't going anywhere. That was kind of a feel good factor, getting those goals and still proving to everyone that we've got it and going into the next season positive. So final win against Wolves for me.
No, it's absolutely fine. Moss, your
Our
name
match
on
of
the
the season,
yeah,
one
yeah,
to
one of
hang a
ours.
hat on.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, there was a lot. I mean, especially the first half of the season, but it just seems like the second half of the season, games become so much more important and so much more riding on it, even though you're cruising and beating, like this first half of the season, we went away at Tottenham, went away, I think at Brighton. Those were great matches when you look back now. Beating Brighton that handily at their place when we got smoked by them at home. But I think I think a few people have mentioned the away match at Newcastle. I didn't expect us to dominate them like that. Not only win the match, I thought we might win the match or draw, but we dominated that game in Newcastle when the year before that was so disappointing, if you remember,
yeah.
and kind of was killed us off the year before, where we were still alive because we did play so well at Newcastle and win this year. So yeah, I'll give it to that game.
100%. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Shock of the season. Moss, we're going to start with you. Now, I did say this can be the title challenge that shocked everybody. It can be anything.
Yeah, well, you
Shaka's
know me, I picked
amazing
top.
performance.
Yeah, I
So,
picked top two, so I expected us to be challenging at the
so
start of the season. And so the shock for me was, and I know this is more to do with Premier League, but the shock for me was that goddamn Sporting Lisbon goal from nearly halfway. It gave me nightmares of what was that guy's name?
Naeem, yeah,
Naeem that scored on Seaman that year. Oh my god, that one just shocked me, and that we were out on penalties and just that goal and Ramsdale being caught, and that was my shocker of the season.
okay. Satvik, what about you?
Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually have to give this to the Reece Nelson goal, that
Okay,
because there's no other category where
Yeah,
we can
a
fit it in, and
positive
I feel
shock
we
that
have
was.
got to fit it in. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to fit it in somewhere. So I think that's my shock of the season. But also, I mean, you can write that down as the shock of the season. But another shock for me was Jorginho, because that signing came out of nowhere. We hadn't heard anything regarding to a midfielder signing, and then just announced Jorginho signed for Arsenal. So that was a shock as well.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Arsenal have this tendency of keeping secrets, and I like it now. So good on to
Yeah.
A
Arsenal.
little better, yeah.
Okay, Satvik, disappointing player of the season for you at Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, Gabriel Jesus for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fine.
and yeah, I think the explanation's a bit behind in the video, so not
Yeah, don't
gonna
worry about it.
repeat the same. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Moss.
Yeah, on our year-end show, we were calling it disappointing, underwhelming. Who you thought would do a lot better, and it didn't really reach your expectations, kind of thing. And since we have flop of this signing of the season, I'll leave someone for that one, and I'll say Thomas Partey here because I expected just more and not to capitulate, not to have his worst games at the end of the season this year, and he did.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely fine. Don't worry. No one's got a wrong answer on this. Right. So, unsung person of the season, and I've told everyone doesn't have to be a player. This one. This can be a coach, can be a physio, can be anyone behind the scenes at Arsenal. So, Moss, who did you choose?
Well, respect to win the dog, but no, you said a person. So, uh, and I wanted to give honorable mention to Reece Nelson. Like when you're always on the fringe and you never get in and you're loaned out, and to keep the mentality he kept and to have, like what Sadvik said, maybe the shock in the moment of this goal and everything of the season. Big ups to Reece Nelson, but mine is Gabriel because he does go unsung
Okay.
and doesn't get talked about enough. I know Bobby does. I know Luke does. I know Tariq does too. Tariq talks, and a lot of people gave up to Gabriel that even when Saliba wasn't 100% or wasn't going strong, that he was always there, and yeah, he stayed out of trouble for the most part, and gets us the odd goal, and had to deal with different partners, in the season, and yeah, I think Gabriel was consistent and brought his game to another level for us.
No, that's absolutely. Satvik, where did you go for?
Yep, I think Jakub Kivior for me is
Okay.
unsung person of the season. Yep, because he's done really well. We didn't expect him to, and he did. So unsung for me.
No, that's absolutely fine, mate. Right, so flop signing of the season for you, Satvik.
Yeah. So I think I would have to go for Jorginho.
Okay,
Yeah, because it just needed more. He came in to win us the title, and it didn't happen.
fair enough.
What was Satvik that I missed? Sorry.
Jorginho.
For what? For unsung?
No, flop signing of the season.
Well, yeah. Well, mine was. I kind of hinted at it, Fabio Vieira, but I expect it's not really a flop signing till you get to the end of their contracts or something happens. But when all of our other signings kind of worked out well, Bobby, it's like, okay, well, yeah, this guy didn't get to play enough, and then when he did, he didn't shine enough. So yeah,
See,
unfortunately,
the funny thing is, you could have both said Marquinhos.
no, I love the guy.
But how much has he played, Bobby? Come on, let's not
We
be
loved
that
him
guy.
No, but he is a signing that hasn't worked out as well as we would have hoped.
But man,
what
when
I'm
he
saying.
played a Europa game, he had a goal and assist.
Yeah. Let's see, people are agreeing with you. Well, I'm just saying there's other players that
No, I
aren't being
agree
mentioned.
too with you, Bobby.
But obviously, I don't talk about Marquinhos because obviously he's
And I
coming
think-
back now.
I think a lot of the negative fans would have loved to say Trusty or Turner or Zinchenko or Kivior in January. They would have loved to see and been on Arteta and that they were flops. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, Bobby? And yeah, I don't think any of them are flops because Fabio Vieira is still going to come good.
Yeah, well, someone's got to be given that award.
Yeah.
It has to
Yeah.
happen. Right, signing of the season, Moss and Odegaard is not an option.
I was going to ask that question, but there's no way he's going to let me. But no, I think, like I said earlier, January signing of the whole Premier League was Trossard. And maybe I should give it to him. But like I said earlier, when Satvik was downgrading Jesus, I think that signing is more of a mental lifting up the whole club, lifting up everybody. Gabriel Jesus is for me. Yeah, Steve K's got it as well. That it just it changed the direction of this season. I think getting him and Zinchenko and Gabby he brings that mentality that we're winning, man, and we're doing this thing. We're taking it to teams, and he doesn't back down. And I think he just helped us have that great start to the season.
Yeah. Right. We're obviously going to go to Satvik now. Your signing of the season, mate.
Yeah, I was really, split up here between picking Zinchenko and picking Trossard. But I think I'm going to go ahead and say Trossard because the impact that he's had can't be underestimated. It's something definitely to commend, and I think he's hit the ground running. And yeah, that's signing of the season for me, Leandro Trossard.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, Satvik, because it was a tough choice, and I think Trossard's going to absolutely kill the Champions League next year.
We shall wait and see. Yeah. Right. So it's young player of the season now. So this person has to be under 21 on the 1st of August 2022 to actually be allowed in this category. So, Satvik, did you do your maths? Yeah. Did you achieve a player for
I couldn't figure it out. Does Bukayo Saka count or does he not?
Who did you go for with?
Saka and Martinelli both count, right, Bobby?
Yeah, Martinelli counts.
Saka counts.
Pretty sure Saka does as well. I'm just trying to find his age here.
They're the same age.
Yeah, so Saka will count. Who else we got? It's quite a few, to be honest. You can't even choose someone.
I don't even need anymore. I was just waiting for Bukayo Saka. I think he counts. He's the only one in my ratings with the number 10. So 10 on 10 for me. So yeah, he's my young player of the season.
Now Moss can't do Odegaard,
Yeah.
so Moss, who
Yeah,
you going with?
he's too old. I don't know. Like, if you want to say Academy Player of the Year, there's so many. I love your Kozer Dewberry. I think every time I watched him, he was amazing, and he looks like a Saka, like that kind of energy, that kind of skill and confidence and talent coming up. But Saka and Martinelli qualified just barely, both of them.
Yeah.
And and you know who my player this season is, but for my top 3 stars, it was Ramsdale, Saka, and Odegaard.
Yeah.
And obviously Saka was pretty close to Odegaard, I think. But young player this season is Martinelli. I got to
Okay.
give it to him, your guy Bobby, because he just improved so much more. Like, I guess because we expect it from Saka, and you just expect him to dominate, and you see him play for England and dominate, and you expect it for your club too. And Martinelli, I think a lot of people are like, oh, and even when Trossard came, get Trossard in there, get this, and he just kept balling. He kept producing for us. So I give it to
Yeah.
Martinelli, this young player of the season.
Fair
But
enough.
Saka was second to Holland for this award for the Premier League, Bobby?
I have no idea. I don't
Okay.
bother looking who
I
came off
think
of
he
runners up.
was, yeah.
I'm only about winning. I'm not about runners up, so I don't care. Player of the season. Look,
mine's
Moss,
Odegaard.
just
so go on.
obviously,
Go on.
yeah, of course it is.
I could give you a million reasons.
Well, you're not going to, so right. We'll just move on to Satvic because that might be a surprise. Who is your player of the season?
Yeah, shock. It's not Odegaard. It's actually Bukayo Saka again.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint Moss there, but I think at such a young age, what he's done, what he's doing, what he's been doing, and with the workload that he's been putting in week out. So I think it's Bukayo Saka for me.
No, fair enough, guys. That is the whole ratings, the whole rewards. That is brilliant stuff. It's taken us a while, but now we've got a question that Luke put in the chat earlier, and I want your opinion.
What about goal of the season, Bobby? What was yours?
Oh, no, I haven't. No, honestly, I'm not doing any of these. This is all. There's a reason why I'm doing it. The reason I'm doing it in the way that I'm doing it is because I want different people's opinions. Obviously, Moss, I know you're pro Odegaard about everything. We've got Tony on next week. We're going to have some different other people opinions. I just want different opinions. Because
my reason is they've tried other guys there. ESR, Trossard, Fabio Vieira. They've tried other guys there, and it's not near the same. The pressing, the being available, being the outlet guy, being the field general, producing. He did it all. So, yeah, of course he's my player of the year, Odegaard. Sorry, I had to get that in.
No, it's absolutely fine. Right, so we're going to this question that Luke asked. Say a club offers 75 million for Jesus. Do you accept? Moss, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and as much as I said he deserved high acclaim and was our signing of the season, he really lifted our spirits and our attitude, I think, and a joy to have at our club. I would take it because, I mean, that was a bad knee injury, and I think this is best to describe where you see your direction of your club and where you see things we can improve upon. That's a lot of money, and we're paying them a lot, so we would use that because we do have money in the coffers, and we would run with it and sign an amazing striker, I'm sure. But yeah, at this point where he had the injury and he didn't perform as well, I think he worked super hard just so he could get back into the lineup and help us down the stretch in a title run that maybe he pushed it a bit and it showed that he a lot of times he had to get subbed off, 50, 60, 70 a minute when he did get back at halftime, even a few times. So that, I would take it at this point. I guess that just says a lot of where we're at, where we're going.
Yeah. What about you, Satvic?
Yeah, I think I'd take it as well. And it's a bit of a tough one because he is only 26. So just look at it from that angle. There are like years where he can come good. But I think we're past that stage where I think if you'd have asked me the same question last season, I would have said no. But I think we finished second, and now going ahead, we'll be looking to challenge for the title and the level that he's shown us this past season just doesn't cut it for me. So 75 million is a lot of money in today's market, as we are now
Yeah.
experiencing with the signings that we're going after. So I think, yeah, 75 million is a fair offer, I would say.
No, it's absolutely fine. Guys, it's been a great show. I appreciate everybody that's gone and commented as well. Steve, I know you've taken part in all the awards. Big up to Steve. I know Stephen was in the chat. Arsenal future, I know you had a bit of an issue with our owners. Look, the owners will be backing us this summer. Let's just wait and see before we decide what to do. Steve has decided to answer this question as well.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
I'm with
take
you, Steve.
75
It's hard.
million.
Yeah,
Best
it's a
Arsenal
hard
player
choice.
before his injury, 4 months out, 19 goal contributions in 13 games, a winner. Look, everyone's going to have different opinions, but that's your opinion. I personally would take it, only because I think we could get something different and something better. But that's just my opinion. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong, and it's just my opinion. We're going to start
Yeah.
with
And we
Saturday.
wouldn't have to go. We wouldn't have to go like 150 million Osimhen or something. We could give Balogun a go and buy someone for 80, 90 million and be amazing. So there's a lot of ways you can, go with this, but it is tough and it's borderline, Steve. Yeah, whether you would take that or not, but just because of the injury, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
that
biggest
kind of
turning
sways-
point in the
that sways me.
decision, yeah, the biggest turning point in the decision for me was we had this question last year, right? That should we buy a striker? And then we went and bought
Well, yeah.
Jesus. So from my perspective, that question should have been answered, and we shouldn't be having that question again this summer. The very fact that we've had that question just proves that it hasn't worked out.
And it would be a lot of profit. We took that money. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But Satvik, Moss, really appreciate you coming on. Satvik, where can people find you, my friend?
Yeah, just on the Discord server and the WhatsApp group that we have for the Armoury.
Brilliant stuff. Moss, other than Odegaard's house, where can people find you?
yeah, me and my son Odegaard will be working on his right foot this summer, between the lake and golf and whatnot. But yeah, we're ATP Sports Talk or Across the Pond Sports Talk. Me, Luke, you see in the chat. We team up with Armoury TV as well, and FTSN with Bobby, and yeah, we do not just Arsenal, not just Premier League. We do a lot of different stuff, and me and Luke, because we're across the pond, we bring Premier League over to North American viewers or Arsenal fans over here, and vice versa. We like bringing the NFL, the NHL, and NBA, etc., all over to maybe British or European viewers or people around the world. And big up Global Gooners. I might be coming over to London again this August, and I guess we got a community shield now, right, Bobby?
Yes, we have.
Whether people agree or not, but yeah, we got one of those, and hopefully another good start like we had this last season, and have a great start to a Champions League being back with us.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, I'll be back at least twice this week with Arsenal news. Tuesday, I will be back with a big update on one player, and then Friday, maybe Friday, Saturday, depends what happens with a certain player. But yeah, I'll also be back on FTSN maybe tomorrow as well regarding Tottenham. So
regarding a certain player, Bobby, does it matter what happens in the game Wednesday? Do you think? Either way,
if they win,
like
he's
signing,
leaving. No, he's leaving no matter what.
No, I mean not for leaving, just who he chooses, or or anything. No,
not for me.
It won't matter what happens to Fiorentina.
No,
okay.
We'll have a better update by Friday because Bayern Munich are serious about that.
Yeah, they're serious.
That's the concern. Is Bayern Munich at the moment.
Seems like Chelsea's serious about Caicedo. So
well, look,
we got our work cut out for us. We got our work cut out for us.
We have. I'll have loads of transfer updates this week. Big up to Steve. Questions should be answered next summer regarding Jesus. Great show, guys. Take care. Thank you ever so much, Satvik.
Yeah.
Thank you, Moss. For definite, there's a week on Monday with Tony. I'm going to try and get Luke on. I'm going to try and get Aussie Gooner on. I'm going to try and get other people on throughout the week because the transfer window opens a week next week. So I want to try and get all these wrapped up before signings start happening. So
I think Aussie Gooner likes either your mornings or very later on, or very later on for you. So yeah.
So I'll get Steve on somehow. But guys, take care. See you later.
Thanks, Bobby.
No worries.